Hi, my name is James John O'Donnell, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about autobrewery, which is another name for endogenous alcohol production. So autobrewery is a process by which the body produces alcohol itself and without drinking. Alcohol is produced in the body from sugars and carbohydrates through a metabolic process called fermentation. Scientific consensus suggests that autobrewery will not actually produce significant levels of alcohol in healthy individuals, but disease states, diet, and/or medications may enhance the level of alcohol produced by autobrewery. Metabolic disorders which specifically target alcohol metabolism and impair it will increase alcohol concentrations, and therefore the small amount of alcohol produced by autobrewery may be allowed to build up to very high levels. And metabolic disorders are not common, but they're most commonly found in Japanese descent. Yeast infections are a second way in which autobrewery can occur. And yeast multiplies basically, the major metabolic process is through fermentation, so this is a reason why autobrewery will be a result, and alcohol production will be a result of yeast infection. And as a result of the fact that fermentation is involved, autobrewery will be, and alcohol production will be most severe in the case of yeast infections if the person has just had a carbohydrate-rich meal. So when I think of yeast infections causing autobrewery, the case which comes to mind is one in the literature of this 12-year-old girl who was extremely intoxicated. BAC levels were 3 times the legal limit. She claimed that she wasn't drinking, no one believed her, and she was monitored in a rehabilitation facility. And basically they found she wasn't drinking, yet she still maintained these very high levels of alcohol. And then they took her aspirate and were able to grow very abundant levels of yeast from that. So obviously this is a case where yeast infection was causing autobrewery and therefore the alcohol intoxication. So the third way you can get autobrewery is through medication. And specifically I consulted in a case where Red Yeast Rice, a supplement for high cholesterol, was found to be responsible for alcohol intoxication because of autobrewery. So how did I come to that opinion? So this was a case where a person had been to a bar, a couple bars actually, and had drank a moderate amount of alcohol. When he left the bar, the bartender said he didn't look impaired in the slightest, but shortly after he got into a very serious one-car accident. The car was flipping over several times, and he was unconscious. And even hours later, when they measured the alcohol, he had BACs at least twice the limit. So when I evaluated this case to see what autobrewery could be the culprit, I first looked at the whether the alcohol that he drank could have been responsible. So first I did retrograde extrapolation to predict the alcohol concentration at the time he left the bar based on the concentration that was measured hours later. And the levels were so high that you would expect that the person would not even be able to walk. And so this obviously conflicted with the witness testimony. Secondly, there was witness testimony as to how much the person actually had to drink. And this amount of alcohol would have been completely metabolized by the time he left the bar. So basically alcohol was not the culprit here. So then I looked at the medication, and he'd been on this Red Yeast Rice for just a couple of days. And of course, from the name, you can guess that there is yeast in Red Yeast Rice. And yeast infections can cause autobrewery and intoxication. And secondly, he was taking 50% more because he thought, okay, I'm going to get better even faster by taking more. So it's even more likely that yeast infection could produce autobrewery and intoxication. So you have all these different ways which autobrewery could result from these different medications, disease states, etc. And involuntary intoxication as a result of autobrewery would constitute involuntary intoxication. And therefore, the person should not be legally responsible. And so in evaluating these cases, in summary, to see whether autobrewery is a valid legal defense, I would first look to see whether there's any metabolic disorders at play, whether the person had really recently ingested red yeast rice, and thirdly, whether there was any yeast infection for any other reason. And finally, I would look to see whether alcohol can be ruled out. So that is autobrewery in a nutshell.